Hello everyone, I'm Annelies and I'm here today on behalf of the World Writers Association to talk about the first impressions in prose writing, that is, when we write a story or a novel. Now, consider you're a reader and you walk into a bookstore. What first draws your attention is the cover. After you've picked up the book because you were drawn by it through its cover, you turn it around and you start reading the blurb on the back side. Then, if this is interesting, you would go to the first page of the story, of the book, and you would read the first lines to see if that's interesting. And you might do the same thing to see how the first few chapters start. And basically the same thing that drew your attention from the first page will draw your attention from the first pages of the first paragraphs. So if you like that, of course you will consider buying the book. Now, of course, through traditional publishing with hardcover books, the author has little to no influence about the cover design or the blurb. But this is different in online publications or when we use online networks such as Wattpad, LinkedIn, or any other site where we can share our stories. There we are the ones who are responsible for the cover and the blurb or description of our story. So, what matters the most, although the first impulse to consider reading the story might have been the cover and the description, the most important thing is what's in it, the content. So, if I go to the first page as a reader and would see here that it's full of grammatical mistakes, spelling mistakes, and so on, I might not even consider reading it. Although the rest might have been very interesting, so we need to be careful with that, because most of the time we might think, okay, I wrote it that way and I will just publish it and I can edit it later. Yes, of course you can. But you might lose readers doing that, or you might not gain faithful readers, so that's not what we want, right? So we should try to make it right the first time. Because, as I said before, this is about first impressions, and just like with anything else, we only have one chance to make a good first impression. So, what are the aspects we need to take into account? The first thing, the setting. The setting is about the time and location in which our story takes place. So we need to paint the perfect picture of that, which is interesting and captivating. The next thing we have to do is to introduce a protagonist. We have to paint a picture of that protagonist in such a way that protagonist can actually resemble a real person. This means that we have to describe his physical attributes and his psychological attributes. Then, if our story has an antagonist, we need to do exactly the same thing with our antagonist. The next thing is the action. The action needs to be very well planned. It can be anticipated, but we should not overdo it because it will spoil the story and we don't want our reader to get bored. Then after the action, we need to create the hook. Now, just like the action is basically the outline of our plot, the hook is its backbone. So the hook needs to be very well thought of, and the story needs to somehow revolve around it. So this needs to be very well planned and well designed, be in line with all the rest of the elements we have already mentioned. Then the next thing are victories and challenges we might have between the antagonist and the protagonist. So we need to anticipate them as well, but we should not overdo it, because as with the action, we might spoil it if we overdo it. So we need to make it interesting and not put in too much information so that we can later develop on that and have a faithful reader. The next thing are dialogues. We need to be very careful when we create dialogues, because otherwise they might ruin the plot. And just like the action and challenges and victories, we should not give away too much information in the dialogues, because it might create spoilers, and we absolutely do not want that. Now, I'm not saying that we cannot foreshadow events in our stories, but we should not overdo it and be careful with that, so that we can maintain a reader to the end and avoid that the reader wants to skip pages. So this is about it on first impressions. If you have any suggestions or comments, put them down in the description, put them down in the comment box, sorry. And I hope this video was helpful. And I wish you a great day. Please share, like, and subscribe. And if you need more information, I will be glad to answer your questions. Or you can also look up on several sites on what to take into account for this first impressions or more information about writing. Thank you very much, and see you next time.